Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for your attention today. I want to make it very clear that, and thank leadership in the House and in the Senate for working together over this weekend, both Republicans and Democrats in each respective legislative chamber. Today I want to make it very clear, starting off this press conference, that in the state of Oklahoma, the government is working, is functioning, and will continue to work and function for the people of the state of Oklahoma. Over the weekend, the decision was made to call for a joint caucus meetings of both majority and minorities for an update from the Department of Health on the most current situation in the state of Oklahoma regarding COVID-19 and what we might expect. As you can imagine, people in the state of Oklahoma are eager for information on this situation facing our state that other states have already dealing with. We want to thank the health officials for responding to that call. We had very positive presentations today, and the legislature feels like it is in a good position to communicate with their individual constituencies on this case. We will continue to listen to those health organizations. Based upon information received from health organizations, we are in agreement that beginning today that we will restrict and limit access to the state capitol, following what other states have done in order to try to play our part in stopping the spread of COVID-19. We are limiting access going forward to elected officials, essential Capitol staff, credentialed press members, and state employees that are invited to essential meetings that may work outside of this building. This decision is to help the public health of the members that serve here and represent the state of Oklahoma, as well as the public. It's very important for us, the conversations that we're having today, we'll continue to have over the next few days. We both chambers plan to be in session again tomorrow. This week is spring break week for our children, our students throughout the state. We had previously planned only to work on Monday and Tuesday, but we are taking actions to deploy contingencies regarding anything that may face our state and the legislature. We are committed to finishing this constitutional session and fulfilling our constitutional duties to the people of the state of Oklahoma. What this means effectively and immediately, we'll be suspending tours, field trips, receptions, rallies, and visits to the Capitol. At this time, I do want to note that we are looking at this on a day-to-day basis. It's not necessarily a suspension in perpetuity or indefinitely by the House's position. We are limiting, we will continue to stream all activities of the House, and all activities of the House legislature, I believe, are planned to will be archived and accessed to the public remotely. Our page programs will be suspended after this week, and we will continue to stay in very close communication with one another. Once again, we are just looking at measures that continue to keep the legislature in a functional situation regarding what might arise unconventional, in this unconventional situation. So with that, having said that, I'd like to recognize my counterpart and colleague of the Senate, Senator and President Pro Tem of the Oklahoma Senate, Senator Greg Treat, to make a few comments. Senator.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Thank you to Leader Floyd and Leader Virgin for being here as well and working with us as we take this issue very seriously at the Oklahoma State Capitol. Effective immediately in the Oklahoma State Senate, as the Speaker spoke to, we are suspending the page program on a moving forward basis. We have 10 pages this week, but we will suspend those on a going forward basis. We will no longer allow outside groups to have meetings in the Senate space until further notice, and we are limiting access in the gallery to members of the press until further notice. We want to make sure we do our part in keeping Oklahomans safe and healthy. After we depart from the Capitol, we go to all corners and all areas of the state, and we want to make sure that we contribute to keeping Oklahoma safe and healthy and trying to flatten that curve. We are absolutely committed to it. I want to thank the Speaker for his continued communication over the weekend. I think we talked more this weekend than we have in a while. The Governor, Superintendent Hoffmeister, other leaders of the state, in constant communication over the week. We do not take these decisions lightly. We are not in a panic, but we are taking this serious to try to make sure that we protect our staff, our members, and the public of Oklahoma. Thank you so much, and I'm going to turn it over to Leader Virgin for some comments.
Good afternoon. I want to talk a little bit about what the House specifically did today in terms of protecting ourselves and protecting the rest of the people who are going to be frequenting the building. As many of you saw, we adopted a new House rule that will allow voting by proxy. And I want to commend Leader Echols and his staff and the House parliamentarian for making sure that we could get that done today. What that means is that on an emergency basis, we would be able to send just a few people to the House floor in order to vote on very important measures. That would include the state budget, which is our only constitutional duty as a legislature. We feel that it's very important that we did this in a bipartisan manner, specifically because we feel that it is incumbent upon this body to set a good example for the general public. We're talking every day about social distancing and staying home, and especially if you have symptoms, and that should apply to our body as well. So we felt that this was very important to set a good example, and so I want the public to know that we are taking those recommendations that we're giving to the public, we're taking those recommendations very seriously. Further, I think we want the public to know that we are in constant communication with the State Department of Health, with the Governor's office, and with each other in terms of what we will do going forward as a legislature. As the Speaker said, it's important that we stay functioning as a government, that the public still have access to what we are doing through our live streaming capabilities, but that we limit what actually takes place physically inside the Capitol building to make sure that we are, as Senator Treat said, doing our part to flatten the curve. So I'd like to thank the legislative leaders assembled here for making this a bipartisan issue, making it a nonpartisan issue, and making sure that we're communicating and staying in touch and protecting the public as much as possible. Leader Floyd?
Thank you. Thank you all for being here. I echo the sentiments of what my colleagues have said. You see right now that this is, in fact, a public health issue. None of us look at this as a partisan or nonpartisan issue. This is public health, and we're all deeply, deeply concerned about that. Senate Pro Tem Treat has laid out some actions that the Senate has already taken, and we will continue to be deliberative about those actions, making them based on information that we get from the healthcare authority, healthcare experts in the state. So I feel confident with this moving forward. I feel like that we will work together quite well, and we are going to stay and we are going to do our job.
Leader Echols.
I just want to echo what's already been said. I want to thank especially Leader Virgin. We had a historic bipartisan caucus in the House. I believe the Senate had the same thing since I have been in the legislature. We've never had anything like that. I'll say something I said on a text string with the Democrat leaders and the Republican leaders. I've always been proud to stand with the pro tem and the speaker, but this week I was really proud to stand in Oklahoma House leadership that wasn't just the Republican House, but with Leader Virgin, with Chairwoman Munson. What we did today is very unprecedented in the House, moving forward with a proxy voting system. I want to explain we did that to be a good example. Because we are a large body, as 101 members, we have issues that the Senate as a smaller body doesn't have to deal with, and that's why we move forward with that. I mean, there's a chance that there could be recommendations at some time in the future that 101 member bodies not meet. So that's why we move forward with that in a bipartisan way. We also, to set a good example, have agreed with the Senate, and we will be passing bills that allow both chambers to adjourn to a call of the chair, meaning it allows both chambers to adjourn. We're giving both chambers permission to adjourn not to a date certain. Again, wanting to be good examples, wanting to give the opportunity that we are doing our part. We're not just telling our citizens to social distance and to take proper steps, but the legislature is doing those things and working very well together, and that's why we did those things. With that, I'll turn it back over to the speaker and the pro tem and the two leaders, and they'll yield for questions.
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. We'll pause for questions. Barbara?
You're not going to be in session Wednesday or Thursday or Friday.
Which was scheduled.
Okay, but you'll be back next week, and you'll have full House and Senate, and you'll have voting, but you're limiting access to the public. Is that an accurate description?
Yes, so our presence here this week on Monday and Tuesday is by design. That was a decision made previously because of spring break. One thing I want to be sure and point out is just because we're not here, the communication does not stop. We will continue to monitor the health situation, but we fully plan to fulfill our constitutional duties in this legislative session. What was done today just gives us flexibility to be able to handle that business, whether we're in the building or whether we are not. And to a certain extent, we know that there can be possibilities where certain members have health issues, and we want to be able to address taking care of the people's business while doing it in a way that is safe to the public and to the elected members.
Are you doing proxy too?
At this time, we do not plan on doing the proxy voting. Whether or not we are here in session next week is yet to be determined.
Will the House will start proxy voting tomorrow? Is that right, or they won't?
I'll handle that.
No, Leader Evans, let's give some
Yeah,
background.
no, that's why we wanted to talk about this from the House perspective. Remember, the House is a little over twice the size of the Senate. The House would only implement the proxy voting rule on major bills. So imagine a scenario where we are, if the worst were to happen, and we have issues with transportation, we have issues with movement, we have issues with people going outside for one reason or another, we still have to have the ability to pass a constitutional budget. We will allow proxy voting, but that will not start tomorrow. And I want to echo what the pro tem and the speaker said. Whether or not we will be in next week has yet to be decided. That's why the procedural move, maybe I got too bogged down in the details. Instead of saying allowing chambers to go to a call of the chair, the House today requested of the Senate, and the agreement the Senate will approve, the ability to adjourn when we need to adjourn and come back when we need to come back. And the agreement is we are going to give the Senate the ability to adjourn when they need to adjourn and come back when they need to come back. We're trying to avoid unnecessary trips to the Capitol, but nobody knows what the world is going to look like for sure 1 week from now. What we do know is we're trying to model good behavior where we plan for worst-case scenarios and then set up systems where we are not people that are spreading it to create those worst-case scenarios. Hopefully those things never happen, but the legislature is making those plans at this time.
Will this carry over to committee votes as well, or just floor votes?
It will not. Yeah, they will not carry over to committee votes. There's no reason. You would use proxy voting to make sure in a body of 101 members, you could easily imagine why it's such a bigger deal in the House. I mean, 101, I mean, does 100 sound like a group that may eventually say no groups above 100? We're already at 250. There's a strong possibility that those recommendations could come out by the healthcare experts. And then what kind of example do we set if we were to say, okay, if eventually groups of 100 are not recommended to meet, but we have to come in to be a legislature? This is about the legislature being proactive. If there's a bill that's such a big deal, we need to use this, I'd move it straight to the floor. We wouldn't be going through committee. But don't think we're going to be using this. We will not be using this for those. This is an extraordinary measure. And again, the other key is both chambers now have, through, never had anything like this too, through great cooperation, the ability to make the best decisions based upon the best available information. And that's what we're telling the public. We're accomplishing our constitutional mandate to continue to take care of the citizens, pass a budget, but also giving maximum flexibility to not come up here if it's not safe.
Any plans to change the timeline for budget talks?
Well, budget talks have started before session officially began. We've had those conversations. I'm sure that this is taking place on the Senate side just as it has on the House, but I won't speak for the Senate. But our subcommittees have been working. They've already presented their subcommittees have already presented to the caucus on the budget. It's a priority just like it is every year at this time, and that will continue to be our focus. And regardless of what the challenges are, we have the contingencies in place to ensure that a budget's passed.
And I'll discuss shelving most of the bills, just keeping the key ones and doing the budget. Is that an option? I mean, you could do a budget pretty quickly, correct?
So this time of the year, we're taking up policy and the budget. So typically, we're doing both. Of course, there's going to be continued discussion on prioritizing work and whatnot. But we have a constitutional duty as a legislature to appropriate a budget, and I think all of our leaders recognize that, and that is on their priority list.
I think from the Senate perspective, budget absolutely is the thing we must do constitutionally. Secondarily, we have the duty of confirming and/or rejecting executive nominations, so we have to take that up before sine die. And then any flexibility the state health department may need, we will prioritize obviously that. We have had some conversations, although they're in their infancy, on counties and cities. Do they need any flexibility on their ability to meet and do the type of measures we're talking about here?
Can you speak to the notion of, or the specifics of who is not allowed at the Capitol? That would be lobbyists are not allowed at the Capitol, is that correct?
Correct.
Are legislative liaisons for state agencies allowed at the Capitol?
State employees.
If it's essential, state employees that do not work in this building would be allowed for essential meetings under initial conversation, so.
Hasn't the State Department of Health already recommended no public gatherings over 50 people? And that would apply to the House and the Senate.
The CDC has certainly has adjusted their recommendations. The Department of, once again, we are a constitutional body of the House of 101. There's currently 100 seats that are filled. We have constitutional duty. We are going to work within all of the health parameters possible, but we are going to complete our work. That's exactly to Leader Echols' point earlier. That is why we have put these emergency rules into place today. There are limits on those emergency rules in the House. Number one, they do not extend beyond the constitutional deadline of this session. They don't carry forward or whatnot. We are not going to utilize those unless we just find ourselves in a position that we need to, and there's a joint agreement on that. So,
At what point do you just close the Capitol? I mean, what would be required for that?
that is not a conversation that we've discussed. Once again, We want to make it very clear, we are not closing the government down. We are going to continue to work and accomplish the work that we constitutionally required to do. We do not want the public to worry about public services, governmental services. Those are going to continue, and the legislature stands ready to swiftly act on any requests coming from the executive.
Why not just do your budget, your judicial nominations, and go home? Why are we considering all this side policy? The smaller bills, the public would like to probably weigh in on talking to lawmakers about not being able to.
I want to make sure it's executive nominations, not judicial nominations, but we canceled a meeting today in public safety, and we'll be have already canceled the education committee meeting tomorrow that had 13 executive noms. We are looking at contingencies to be able to Skype these people in whatsoever, to have limited people here at the Capitol, but we're still working through some of those. As far as I am concerned, right now, we absolutely are prioritizing, as we always do, the budget, and those discussions are ongoing. As far as other policy, we'll have to see what the schedule allows.
How often will we be reevaluating this?
I think we'll reevaluate daily.
Yeah.
On the budget, won't you require more time to determine how much money you actually have? Because the numbers were certified in February are probably not valid at this point.
That's a good point. Budgeting teams, I believe, and from what I've heard from the House, the Senate, and the executive, they're already looking at what the numbers would like, will likely be at the end of the 2020 budget. So those are being considered, and those numbers are being calculated.
You said you guys haven't made a decision about even meeting next week right now. Do you have a good sense of what it would take to call off meeting temporarily and just say we're going to go to proxy voting or no meeting for X number of weeks? Do you have a good sense of what it would take to do that?
In the House of Representatives, that will basically come out of communication with the majority and the minority. That will be a decision that we make jointly to exercise. It's important for us because we don't know what the future holds. We hope it's going to be great for the state of Oklahoma, but we have contingencies in place if and only if we need to utilize them. I don't think this notion of we'll make the determination. We will announce to you. We consider it's very important in terms of the limited access that credentialed press members continue to have access. You are the eyes and ears to the public. We recognize that. We want you to be a part of that, and we will communicate with you as these decisions are made. Once again, we are communicating with one another multiple times a day. That will continue, and when there is a change or decision made, we will communicate that. We can communicate that through these press conferences, press releases, whatever forms that the press would like to, utilize. And Leader Virgin has something she'd like to add to that.
I want to stress that this situation is fluid, as it is all across the world right now. And so these issues that we're dealing with are not unique to Oklahoma. They're not unique across the globe. But what we will be doing is assessing the situation, as the speaker said, daily, hourly, and figuring out what the best course is for us to take. And that means that we may not have all of the answers right now, but that is just because there are a lot of unknowns, and this is, like I said, a fluid situation. But I think the public should rest assured that we are monitoring the situation very closely, and the bottom line is we want to be a good example for the public while also fulfilling our constitutional duties.
Really quickly, if we are the eyes and ears and the mouth asking this question, I think we hear from the public all the time that, it's hard sometimes to get phone calls back from lawmakers. It's hard sometimes to get emails back. I understand that you get hundreds, especially those in leadership. Have you had a discussion with this change in potential access in person? Have you had a discussion with your caucuses about how they need to prioritize reaching back out? Maybe during session, 100 emails come in, 50 of them get a direct response. If they can't come up to the Capitol, is there a different priority for responding to constituents? Does that make sense?
I can only speak for myself, but we have communicated to our caucus the importance of maintaining accessible to the public and reacting and responding to correspondence and phone calls.
Sure, Kate.
Okay, thank you. We have also discussed it within the caucus, what the ramifications would be for our constituents moving forward with this. We are very much aware and very much committed to staying in touch with our constituency. This weekend, being at home and working from home, no one had problems getting in touch with me. So I think we're going to be able to continue to work on this. As Senator Leader Virgin said, it is a fluid situation. We're basing a lot of our decisions on the information and the data we're getting from the health department, and that will continue also. But no, I don't see it being a hurdle for our constituents.
Real quick question, what are you considering credentialed press?
Whatever your employer issues are, that'll be fine.
I guess the president has just now come out recommending 10 groups of 10 or less. You guys have gone back to the CDC a little bit earlier. Is that what?
We'll continue to have conversations with the executive, with the governor directly on the situation. He'll brief us on what's being communicated through the executive all the way up to the federal executive level. And, that'll be part of our continued conversations and communication.
Do you think construction's going to continue during this time period?
Pardon?
Is construction in the Capitol going to continue?
We've asked the governor to take a look at that. The executive is overseeing the capital project. We've indicated that that's something we need to take a look, but nothing definitive has been determined.
I guess there's a JCAP bill on tomorrow's agenda. Can you tell us anything about that?
That's the funding for the judicial branch that we just have to receive from the House tomorrow, so we have to have our desk open to receive that.
What does the building access going to look like? Is it just going to be on the House and Senate side? Is it going to just be on the Senate side? I mean, what's it going to look like for people coming and going, staff and everything?
The House's entrance and control space for entry point into the Capitol is the east entrance, and it will continue to be open and staffed by security.
As will the West. We're talking about those access points with the governor and DPS as we go forward. So the more information we have, the more we'll get out to you. Thank you so much. I've got to get back to session.
Thank you.